Waitomo group when we were finding heaps of stuff in Waitomo, and the club was just it was just buzzing. It was incredible. Every week we're finding stuff. It was very exciting, and I certainly hope the same thing happens in your club too with these discoveries you're making over the hill. I think it's incredibly special, whether it's 100 metres, whether it's whether it's 10 kilometres. It's no
we wish.
But it's actually no different. I really enjoy finding 50 metres in Waitomo. I find that incredible buzz because you work so hard for it, and you might spend all year, it might spend your whole life getting the 100 metres, and it's certainly an awful buzz to find that. It feels exactly the same finding the big stuff in the South Island. It's actually harder work finding the stuff probably where you guys go exploring in Waitomo than it is finding the stuff in the South Island. Everyone's got that feeling that caving down south is big and scary and dangerous and hard. And yeah, at times it is, but other times it's not. It's not as difficult as people expect. Anyway. Mount Arthur, the history of Mount Arthur. Well, hopefully you all know where Mount Arthur is. But back in 1969-70, the summer of 69-70, a bunch of cavers decided to go up into the Mount Arthur area and try and find the deepest cave in the world. Back then, you didn't have to find a cave very deep to find the deepest cave in the world. It was something like about 300 or 400 metres back then. No, it wasn't, about 1,000 metres. And about 3 teams went up onto Mount Arthur. One group went up the Pierce Valley, and 2 groups went up onto the tops. And they started searching these areas here. One group went up into Hoary Head as well, which is to the north. And they searched these areas trying to find a big deep cave, and they started the dream, the big 1,000-metre deep dream. The group walking up the Pierce Valley found an entrance just around near a big spring called Nettlebed cave, and the guys on the top, all they found was lots and lots of big block shafts, and some of the shafts went down 100 metres or so, but didn't actually find very much. And this is kind of, if you know Mount Arthur or don't know Mount Arthur, this is the Mount Arthur Ridge here. This is the Horseshoe Basin, and Nettlebed cave in the Pierce Valley is just over that ridge there. Mount Arthur's behind the photographer. So over the years, this is one of Jonathan's lovely maps. Over the years, Nettlebed was explored. We've got Nettlebed cave here. Windrush was found and explored, and the Ellis Basin system grew and grew and grew. So up until, was it probably a couple of years ago, up until this year, Nettlebed was about 24 kilometres long. The Ellis Basin system was about 33 kilometres long. And we found that all the water on this mountain came out the Pierce Sedge to the bottom of the hill, so there's obviously a massive big cave system sitting there. So just to slice through the mountain, right, Nettlebed cave here, explored uphill, up into the 1980s, it explored uphill, was a pod entrance, and the dream was to find a cave that went from the bottom, top there, right, and come out the bottom. So, I thought, just having a dream's good enough, but you kind of have to get out there and kind of, get that dream moving. Everyone thought, we want to find this big deep cave, we want to get out there and get it moving. So, I heard of a fund we could apply for through Spark, called the Hillary Expedition Fund. Anyone can apply for it. It's amazing. If you go anywhere in the world, you can apply for money to go anywhere in the world. If they like your idea, they'll give you money for it. We applied 3 times, and then by the 3rd time they end up accepting the application. We applied for about $20,000, and they gave us the money. And the reason we got the money was that we were going to find the first cave in New Zealand to go over 1,000 metres deep. So the team we had, and Heidi Godfrey is one of our team members. I don't know if you know Heidi or not, but she's quite an inspirational person, very strong. Not a person who wants to be out in front, she just wants to support a team, and she's really good at making scones, which is really important. It's not just a female thing, she actually really enjoys making scones. And Neil, he's also good at making scones as well, and chocolate cakes underground. And Neil, I've been caving with Neil for probably nearly 20 years or so, and I've done an awful lot of amazing trips with him. And when I had my accident back in the late 90s, he was right beside me pretty much the whole way out of the cave, which I really appreciated. I trust me like that guy. Troy Watson, quite a new member of the team. He's from a caving family. His father first started caving. He did a lot of early explorations on Mount Arthur. It's really neat to have that kind of family connection to the mountain. And myself, I've been caving for a long time. And Aaron Gillespie, he's kind of new to caving as well. He's a rock climber, very good rock climber. Anything that looked nasty and horrible to climb up, we shoved Aaron out the front. That's the way you go, you climb it. And Chris is another new one to caving as well. And very strong and really good sense of humour. And of course, we all know caving can be pretty shit sometimes, and he's really good at keeping us, keeping things real and keeping a smile on our faces. Also very good at getting up at 6:30 in the morning, which is very important. So we applied for some money, and the whole idea is we want to go and find the first 1,000 metre depth cave in New Zealand. Now the easiest way to do that is to find a place where there's already a cave underneath and then go higher. So underneath here, we've got the yellow spacing system. So we decided to go up on top of the twins here and find the entrance up near the top. And we did. This entrance here, EK 3010. Ben was another member of the team, very done hardly any caving, but decided to come on the expedition. Entrance to EK 3010, and this cave had been found back in 2008, 2002 actually, not 2002, and it stopped at a really, really narrow crack. So what we did, we went and found a very small person, and this person was tiny, really tiny, and shoved her down the crack. And the crack, in fact, was so tight she couldn't get a helmet down. But she managed to get down this crack, and she calls back and says, I found a pitch. So threw her rope, and she disappears, and she calls back up again and says, I found another pitch. She said, right, and come back home now. And we dug our way through, and yeah, the EK 3010 started going. Down. There's a little rift where there's a dig out for about 10 metres to get down. Howling gale going into the cave, so we're pretty certain something's going to happen, and we just want to keep following that wind. And it was sitting pretty much over top of the yellow spacing system, so we knew that if we gave it enough time and worked hard enough, we'd probably make it.
How did it get its name?
EK 3010.
Yeah.
It was just pretty much the whole mountain's got this prefix EK.
Oh, okay.
But Alice Cast.
No, it's not Alice Cast. EK. This might be asked at a Trivial Pursuits evening one, like a caving one. It might be the winning question. EK comes from the number plate on Jude. Do you know who Jude was, or what Jude was?
Yeah, bus.
It was the old truck, right? It was EK something, and they used that as prefix for all the caves on the mountain. Yeah, so EK 3010 started going down, and yep, down. And it was pretty exciting actually, very exciting, dropping all these pitches. We had to keep digging, get down the pitch, so a pile of rocks dug out, along a little bit more pitch, another pile of rocks dug out. And generally what happened is that the way on was the little tiny ways, it wasn't the big ways, they all stopped, or in fact didn't even look at those. The draft was going into all these little tiny tubes that we kept pushing through. And EK 3010's really, really high up the mountain, so our home was way down over here. So, long walk down off the mountain, and often the trips were finished well after dark, and often typical man after weather, it's miserable. And people often say, caving must be dangerous. And I've often asked whether the cave is dangerous, but in fact we thought actually getting out of the cave is the most dangerous. About an hour's walk, or an hour's walk back home again in the middle of the night. And the really, really strange thing about caving up here is that you can see Nelson down below you, so you're sort of fighting for your life up on the mountain where everyone's nice and comfortable down below you in the valley. It's kind of a really strange contrast. And EK 3010 kept on going down, and we got to 470 metres by the entrance, and it wasn't particularly easy, but it was dry, it was quite nice. But down a huge pitch, and bottom of the pitch was a little tiny crack, and we were sitting at the bottom of this crack, the top of this crack, looking down it. It was our last day, we ran out of food, we couldn't cook our meals, so we ran out of gas, and we had a last piece of rope, and we're going home the next day. And we sat there feeling quite depressed that we hadn't made the connection. And then we went up a little tiny tube of the pitch and found ourselves in Tama time. And that was pretty exciting. So we made that big, it's the first cave in New Zealand to break 1,000 metres, so big dream come true. On the, so on the EK 3010 is roughly over here, so you've got the other spacing system here. So 1,000 metres roughly around here.
Well, in fact, somebody's updated the map.
Yeah, that's never been updated. Kind of scratched it on with a pen. So, on the, it was a big success for Spark, or Sport New Zealand they're called. They've got an awful lot of publicity out of it, and on the, rolling on with that, we went back to them and say, well, I think we can find a cave that's deeper. So they went, yep, okay, you probably can. So they gave us some more money, gave us another $10,000 or something to go and find a deeper cave. And we thought we were going to make the other spacing system deeper. But we ended up thinking, well, how about we go to a different part of the mountain and see if we can work on the end of Nettlebed, see if we can make that deeper, because we thought there'd be more rocks on the other top of the Nettlebed system. So we went up into the Horseshoe Basin. Spark gave us some money, and we went up a horseshoe. So Nettlebed gets up underneath here, and that's top Mount Arthur there. And we went up in this area up in here, trying to find the deepest cave in New Zealand. Yep, threw that kit in, and the great thing about this machine, it can take 5 carloads of gear. It's incredible. The first time we used the helicopter pilot, he said, how much gear have you got? I said, I've got a carload. And 5 cars turned up, and the pilot just got bigger and bigger and bigger. It was hilarious. But he got it all in, couldn't believe it. Got it all in, plus a person, and threw all that kit in. Yeah, it was amazing. Those machines are incredible. beautiful campsite, big holes everywhere, like surrounded by enormous big shafts, and yeah, lots of drafts going into these shafts. And we just thought, yep, we're going to find a big deep cave on this trip, and just it was stunning, absolutely stunning weather. Oh, it's a beautiful place to go caving if you get an opportunity to go caving up there when the weather's like this. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah, there's around up the ridge, the Mount of Hutt's down around the corner there, down over there, and that's kind of looking up towards the Taki Hill where Nelson's out that way. The first cave we got to go down, it's we called it, for some reason Aaron called it IA Captain. Very strong drafts going down into it, and yeah, series of nice easy pitches, dropped into a massive big chamber, and then it just got finished in this little tiny narrow crack through a little narrow squeeze, and then this crack about 2 inches wide, and you look through the crack and see quite a big chamber beyond, but there's no way we could, there's no room to drill or dig or anything to get through it, and the draft was howling into it. So unfortunately we had to leave that cave, and then went to our next lead. So another one we called Thor. We called it Thor because Troy had a big hammer which he bashed things out of the way and smashed things up with, and called it Thor. We named this cave Thor, and that got down to choked at about probably 150 metres by the entrance, and we thought, stuff it, man, we'll give this choke a go. So we got into the choke and dug our way out through the choke into a chamber about the size of this room. And we came up kind of almost in the middle of the chamber, in a little funnel in the middle of the chamber. Crawled through and went, this is great, off we went. And then Chris started coming through, and you heard this rumble, oops. So classic, it was just classic. As he came through, he grabbed for a big rock and it rumbled down and trapped him in the squeeze. So we spent a while getting him out, and they decided not to push the cave anymore because it's just so unstable. So that cave's still going, very strong drafts going downhill, so we've got no idea where it's going to go. Maybe we'll go back to it, don't know. Anyway, we the good weather disappeared. You've probably seen the movie about this, and the wind came up and the rain started falling and got incredibly horrendously real bad weather. And in that weather we didn't give up. We kept caving, even though it's soaking wet and miserable. We kept on caving, and during that storm we did find another cave just down behind you called Stormy Pot. It must be at the start, and my overalls are clean.
I was going to say, I don't
I think I bought a new suit, it was miserable, so it wasn't fair overalls. It was great to get into Stormy Pot because you get, you know, it doesn't rain on the ground, it doesn't rain, it's not windy, it's not very cold. Well, not as cold as outside anyway. So it was really good to get out of the stream. And Stormy Pot, right from the onset, was miserable. Really small, really tight little tubes. Yeah, quite tight. Lots of wind going into it though, lots of wind. And we just thought, well, we've got nothing else to explore, just keep pushing this.
So they did it.
Saying,
Yeah.
You say wind going into it, so it's getting sucked in or
Yeah.
getting blown out?
No, it's going down into
Goes
it.
down
Yeah.
and comes out where sort of thing?
Well, that's what happened. The wind would go to Nettlebed. That's
Right,
all
so the wind comes out and it'll be...
Yeah, the wind howls out Nettlebed. The squeeze at the bottom of Nettlebed, sometimes it's so strong that I feel like, you know, the wind's pushing you through there. Yeah, very strong. Yeah, this little squeeze just inside, just near the entrance, you come through it, really muddy, you slide downhill and you've got to grab right before you fall over 10 metre pitch and trip onto it. It's quite a hard case, but it was quite miserable. But it just went down, got bigger and bigger, and then 200 metres by the entrance we're in a really big passage and the top of a massive big pitch. I thought that was incredibly exciting. It's like, yes, at last we've got a cave that's going somewhere. Unfortunately, we had to get out back into the storm again. And the wind was so strong it was knocking us off our feet. You've got to hang on to the tussock and the rock to stop getting blown into holes and bowling us along the cast and stuff. It was pretty exciting. But the thing that really worried us was that we had tents. Tents made nylon, and nylon doesn't start very well. And yeah, we got back to a base camp, and the base camp tent was still there. And then Neil comes wandering out of the mist and goes wandering around in circles going, "Where's my tent?" Like this. Troy says, "Oh, it's probably just a mist, you can't see it. It must be just over there further." Neil wanders over there and goes, "No, I still can't see my tent." And he finds it in the hole. He wasn't very happy. A little bit dejected. Yeah, it's quite funny. So he joined us in the base camp tent, and that night the wind just got stronger and stronger. And you know, listening to the gusts coming down the mountain, and it almost feels like the gusts are making the ground shake. It was incredible. There's huge roars off the mountain, and the tent go bang, snap poles and everything. Then halfway through the night, well, at 2 o'clock in the morning it was, and suddenly the whole tent got flipped upside down. So we thought, nuts, stuff that, get out of the tent. We bailed out of the tent into the storm. There's a little cave entrance nearby. Got into that. That was all good until it started leaking. It just flooded. All this water came pouring into it just on daybreak. So I thought, nah, we've had enough of that. And the amazing thing about the tent, we had a generator tied to the upwind side of the tent. In the morning, we found the generator come over our heads and land on the downwind side of the tent. It's quite incredible. Yeah, it's quite phenomenal. Anyway, stick of the wind. Yeah, we kind of packed up our kit. And this is probably the most depressing and it's a horrible moment because we had a sponsor. When you get a sponsor, you want to work really hard for them. You want to give them the goods that they've asked for. And we had the sponsor, and we're getting our ass kicked by the weather, and we thought we're giving up, we're bailing off, and I felt pretty down. In fact, we all felt pretty down and we're giving up. But anyway, we had to get off. It was pretty miserable, and the wind itself, as you walked off the mountain, that wind was so strong that you actually sit back on like you're sitting on a chair. It was phenomenal. And there was, as you're walking off thinking, well, at least the rest of New Zealand's getting their backsides kicked, but no, New Zealand was actually in sunshine. They didn't even have the storm at all. It was the only place in the whole New Zealand that had the storm. Everybody else was getting sunburn. But we walked back in again. We thought, no, we're not going to give up. We'll go back in again and we'll move camp. And we moved camp. We decided not to use tents. We decided to go underground a little bit. And on the Stormy Pot Valley, which is over the other side of the hill from where we're camping, there's always little holes in the ground. And we managed to make one into our home in one of these little holes here. I still can't believe we did it actually. It was, a table, cooking area, there's a nice cold draft coming up. Fresh water keep coming down this way.
Don't look very happy there. So enthused.
It was miserable. It was miserable. But the only reason we're there is that we wanted to explore a cave which was about 5 minutes walk away. I just can't believe we did it. Well, we had a place to sleep. We dug it, there's a little hole in the side of just in the side here. We managed to dig it out just big enough to sleep in. And that was okay when it didn't rain. When it rained, it got really, really wet, so we put up a little tarp and stuff to keep the water off us. But it was just big enough for a couple of us to sleep in it. But we managed to squeeze 4 of us in, which was quite cosy. Sitting in each other's crutches and things, it was quite fun. But I still can't believe we spent almost 6 weeks in this thing. Yeah.
That's close.
Yeah, it was.
Right from it.
A Stormy Pot kept going and going. It was a classic nasty Mount Arthur pothole. It was just tight canyons, pitches, tight canyons, long tight canyons where you're squeezing up and down and standing on your head to get around corners, and it was really sporty and really, really hard. And the only reason we kept pushing was that the wind was going downstream, but we still fit. And if you couldn't fit, Troy come along and fit. It's like, okay, we'll keep going, Troy, right? Gets bigger, he said. And stand up, that means, not lying on your side. But there was a big surprise, and the cave was really hard for us. It beat us. We felt like we'd been beaten up every single trip. And coming out from about 2 or 3 metres down, and yeah, I just remember getting out one trip feeling like someone taking to me with a stick. Might have been better to be taken with.
Your overalls aren't red anymore.
No, the same overalls.
You got new brown ones.
Same overalls, 6 weeks later. Yeah. But the big surprise was actually breaking into a big streamway. Aaron, Troy, myself, and worked back. I was on just doing the block, and Aaron was doing the instruments, and suddenly Troy's squeezing down this crack, and suddenly he goes, "Oh, this gets really big." Echo. Oh, yeah. We kind of fell over each other trying to get out, and just walked into this 5 metre wide streamway. And really strong draft going downstream, big stream, and it's just in the main drain for the basin. That was really exciting. The only problem was that we knew we had to go back up Stormy Pot. That wasn't exciting. Meanwhile, this is the basin where Stormy Pot is. It's called the Nominate Basin. Funny sort of name, I don't know why it's called that. Anyway, we generally call it the Nominate Basin. That's looking out into the Mount Arthur Tablelands, Gordon's Pyramid, Gordon's Knob, Gordon's Pyramid, and it's kind of looking out towards Golden Bay, Darkened Valley. Stormy Pot's over here, and Neil didn't really like going down Stormy Pot. He kind of had enough of it, so hiding himself went wandering around the cast, and they found another entrance sitting over here. And they call it the Big Finger Giant. It's lovely. Yeah, it's an amazing entrance. Yeah, it's pretty cool. BFG, complete contrast to Stormy Pot. It was lovely. It's nice and big and open. But pretty certain people must have found the entrance before. There was a ken quite close by, and people must have gone down at least the first 3 or 4 pitches. But down about 160 odd metres, it had choked in a little narrow rift, and we had to dig that choke out. But BFG, it just went down, nice big pitches, big open pitches, and down, and down we went. And eventually, 400 metres by the entrance, we connect BFG to Stormy Pot. and that was a real relief. I mean, instead of taking 4 or 5 hours to get to the stream, it took us an hour and a half, and that's probably 45 minutes to get down to the main stream. Yeah, so that was our way in, and downstream we went, and it was, even when I kind of look at this, I can still remember just going in the streamway, just thinking, my goodness, this is nearly going to end. We had no idea really where we were going. We just knew that we had this big streamway, 20 metres high, 30 metres high, 2-3 metres wide, strong draft, was just going downstream, this every cave streamway, and we couldn't believe it. We were actually there. It was phenomenal. And there's one place that did get pretty tight, we called the Gates of Troy, because Troy managed to get through it, and beyond, it just opened up and kept on going, and we were pretty happy. So at 6 o'clock at night, thinking, my goodness, this is awesome. And this is our last trip of the 2011 summer, in February 2011, and we're pretty stoked. Eventually, though, we got to Waterfall, we didn't have more rope left the SRT gear way behind, and we got to this 10-metre waterfall. And standing there was pretty special. We couldn't get down the waterfall, we had no idea what's down there. Real big wind going down, big, huge passage, and we had to leave it. And that was the most amazing buzz to leave that behind, knowing that we were going to come back. And we had to leave. End of February 2011, went to leave. Just a sideline view of the cave. It was still in Pot down here, BFG down here, main streamway. And then the end here, which we call this Waterfall Summer's End. Yeah, so that's real quick. That's real exciting.
Which is the higher entrance?
BFG.
Okay.
Sporty trip, eh? It's a really, really sporty trip.
Not that anybody will ever do it again.
Yeah. Last time I did it, I came out. Right, we went down BFG, and then we found all the streamway, and we decided to go and de-rig Stormy Pot, and that was really hard work. Yeah, it was intensely hard. And we vowed never to go back in there again, but like a lot of things, time heals, doesn't it?
When you first shove somebody down that really tight slot at the top of Stormy Pot, how do you know that you're ever going to get them back out again?
Don't.
It didn't look like you did.
Let's go first. Paper, scissors, rock. No, you do. If we didn't think we were going to get people out of a squeeze, we wouldn't let them go and do it.
You don't seem the heaviest down.
It seems pretty tight, like going in gravity, helping them down.
Yeah, well, some squeezes were incredibly tight.
I wonder how they...
The other thing you can do is just count the offspring, and the one with the least offspring goes first.
Hang on a minute, you should actually, the ones with the offspring should go first actually, because they've already got kids.
Done it. They keep the species going.
The one with the most kids should go first.
It depends who's setting the rules.
Discovered from past experience with a rather large caver that if you go down and they can't get out again, if you take off all your caving gear and come out naked, you're a few inches thinner, so you can actually squeeze through. It was not a nice sight.
So in March 2011, we decided to go back. We went back. There's no way we're going to leave that lead just sitting there, and we're still basing ourselves in that little tiny hovel in the Nominal Basin. And we went back into BFG and down Summer's End. Amazing waterfall. At 10 metres, very real nice. The water around the corner. Actually, what we did later on, actually saved the water from not throwing into the west.
We need that, Tony.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really awesome fun. Anyway, the water went around the corner, went down another massive pit. You chuck these rocks down, it didn't sound like it hit the ground. And we stood there go, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. Oh shit, no, you go get wet. And Aaron climbed across the top of the hole and luckily he found a nice dry passage. And yeah, that just went into his big tubes. Yeah, we just couldn't believe it. We just could not believe it. And we're down, this is down about probably 500 metres below the surface, and we're just walking to his big dry tubes. It was pretty special, really special. So we're just doing day trips into the cave, and then the nice weather again, weather turned crap. And howling gale, rain, miserable, got terribly miserable, lying in a bivvy cave, and it was kind of dripping, and we're all pretty depressed. I said, guys, cheer up. Can't get worse, and it did. It's oh my goodness. That's we shouldn't have called it Stormy Pot. Should have called it something else. Yeah, Stormy Pot was a bad name.
We were at Patero when you took that photograph, and it was really quite nice.
Yeah, we were out in the country with something. We got beaten again. Every single trip we just keep getting beaten. It's quite funny. Anyway, we just thought, let's do what we're good at. Let's get underground. It doesn't snow underground, it doesn't rain, and it's only 7 degrees. And about down about minus 500 metres, about kilometre and a half or so, 2k from the entrance. There's a nice little tube. It's probably about as wide as this room here. We call it the chocolate room because it's brown walls. And that became our home and our base camp. The underground base camp is a lovely, lovely campsite. And people say, people don't like camping underground, I think they're missing out. It's just really nice. This really did become our home. The service was nasty. It was a horrible place to go. But this was warm, it's dry, food was here, we had sitting bags, we had books, we had music, but everything was lovely.
And it's incredibly quiet.
Very quiet, yeah. And from there, that was our base for the rest of the cave, and the cave just got easier after that. And just walked into big passages.
So whereabouts is that exactly?
That's the G survey, about probably 5 minutes from camp. 10 minutes from camp. Yeah, so there's kind of this big round tunnels, and we thought, my goodness, Nettlebed, here we come. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Where's the stream gone, this one?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Right.
I just went big tubes after big tubes, and this is all just beyond camp, so it's great. You just get up early in the morning, and, the alarm would be set at 7 o'clock in the morning, you'd be away from camp by 8:30, you'd explore a kilometre by mid-afternoon, you'd come back. It was fantastic. You sit around camp yarning and stuff, and then back up the next day, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock away from camp the next day. Off you go, another kilometre, come back to camp. It's just a very exciting time. And there are only 5 of us down there doing this. And at one point, 5 of us. It was incredible to have such a small, close-knit team exploring this passage. You have some tight stuff, some climbers who do lots and lots of climbing. But generally, we're just doing lots and lots of underground tramping. Yeah, it was.
This was over the
yeah. And there's some nice stuff, aragonite, lots of aragonite, a little bit of gypsum around the place. And then the really cool discovery was talking about Waterfall River, with the big river. We found the continuation of the river, and that was a very exciting moment for us because a lot of us, the main big tube up higher actually choked, and we're getting a little bit down, a little bit depressed, thinking, oh my goodness, maybe it's going to choke. We found this river, and we had the draft, lots of wind, and quite a big stream. Well, it was big then because the cave was actually in flood as well. It was even bigger than it was at the time. And we went down 100 metres, and the whole roof came down within 6 inches of the surface, and howling gale going through it, freezing cold water, and we stood there with it for a while, and then Neil stripped off and swam through, and amazing thought, gumboots, helmet, that's all he had on. Yeah, what a sight. But he confirmed that cave kept going, so this was the end of March 2011, and we had a big cave, the cave was ongoing, and we knew that we had to come back. So that was after March, so that was February into here, March was all that, and then the river called River Clowns after Neil's little swim, we called it the River Clowns down here. Yes, the cave was 6 kilometres long there, so it's growing pretty fast. But we decided to go back, of course. May we were going back, March, we was worried about May. This time no helicopters, so we had to carry everything ourselves. But it's not too bad, it's only 3-hour walk in with huge packs. Yeah, the packs are pretty heavy. Yeah, heavy. And we had this time we had wetsuits with us. We had 3 packs each to carry into the cave, so there's 5 of us, so 15 packs to take down the cave, which is quite exciting. Lots and lots and lots and lots of packs. You get to a climb or something, the packs just keep coming in, keep coming through. I feel it's never stop. Gates of Troy, it takes ages to get all the packs to Gates of Troy. There's this big pack, there's still about 5 big round packs, and we emptied out of all the squeezes. Pulled through easy. And we wetsuits on, wetsuits, you need wetsuits, the River Clowns.
What's he doing?
Was the water really cold now?
Yeah, where is it? So wetsuits are actually, they were just definitely need them for the exploration we're going to be doing. But what really surprised us was the actual streamway, and the streamway was we thought the stuff further back upstream was exciting. This just got better and better and better. Normally a kilometre would take us 4 or 5 hours, probably 6 hours to survey caves in the passage. This took us 45 minutes to survey a kilometre. We were running down this thing. It was amazing. It's like, whoa, slow down. I was trying to get them to slow down while I was making the notes. Nice, easy streamway. And we just went on and on and on. And around every corner, it just got better and better and better. It was, it's pretty exciting. And then it just got even better. Just got, went through a rock pile, through a bit of a swim, and the cave just wall just disappeared, the roof disappeared, and just climbed up this massive big pile of boulders. Yeah, it was really special sitting up there. That cave didn't stop. Beyond those big pile of boulders, over a little, through a little saddle, down the other side, went down, 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 back into the river again, and the river just kept on going downstream, through some deep pools, more tubes, got some more big rock pile chambers and tubes, and then ended up with these massive big chambers, and eventually the cave choked. So at the end of May, we ended up getting down to this choke. This is about 4k from the entrance and 700 metres below the entrance roughly. And we called this place Nettlebed, and we thought, wow, that's pretty good, really amazing. And then we got out, and by the evening we got out, I'd done quite a little survey data with the computer, and I had a map for the guys to have a look at the maps next. So what actually happened, Stormy Pot's up here, very rough, and we come right along here, and we realised that we're almost connected to Nettlebed. And that was a very exciting moment, really exciting. So my goodness, you know, we do have a chance now of connecting the tops to the valley floor. Yeah, that was awesome. So we had Stormy Pot and Nettlebed, a lot of work done. Stormy Pot, we decided that we need to go in from the other end and have a look. And we had a trip into Nettlebed with there's Jonathan, myself, Jane Firkett, and who was the other chick?
Yeah, chick.
What was her name?
West Coast.
Yeah.
I know. I'll remember in 10 minutes. Go on.
Jackie.
Jackie.
Thank you. Yeah, Jackie. Jackie from the West Coast. And we went, this is back in Nettlebed. I got the Hammer Heights Software Cafe, and we went to this area here to see if we can find ways through into Stormy Pot. And the reason we went to this area here was that it's a really nice part of the cave. Right? The other part of Nettlebed is just all big broken rock and big rock pile you got to go through. It's a really nasty part of the cave. Thought, we don't want to keep there. We want to keep here. It's really nice. Kind of strange. Yes, no. And there's nothing. You know, you look at the map. There's nothing going towards Stormy Pot at all. It's like, no, we're going to connect here. I don't care about UK. Sorry?
So how long does it take you to get there?
You could do it in 4 or 5 hours from the entrance. Yeah. But we'll normally do it over 2 days. You're walking up the piers and go to Salvation Hall and go from which is way down that way. Salvation Hall to Software Cafe. And on that day you go exploring as well. It's about 3 hours from Salvation Hall to Software. Very impressive 3 hours. This hill here, that's big. It's a big hill. So, at a random spot in the cave, this is a very random spot in the cave. This is right under the back of the cave. Okay, I'll show you where it was. I'll show you how random it was. So it's this one here. It was there. Very random, so we're coming back from here. Coming along, I said, John, has anyone been out here before? I said, no.
I mean, I'd just like to say here that I'm very impressed with this. Kieran finding this passage. The embarrassing thing is that we walked past that passage, and you can see it's just in front of me there. It's like black beckoning space. But we walked past it so many times, 40 or 50 times, because on the way back we were always just going home, and we were looking towards the back of the cave. We were never looking off to the side.
Yeah. So we went into this lead, and immediately it was obvious that the water had flowed, flowed down it this way. The water flowed this way. And it's like, well, shit, we're just going to go. And up ahead, you hear water falling down, you go across, get there, and there's a little haven coming in, and you step across this big hole, and then into these little tubes. And the tubes just, it was really, really interesting. And it was hard. We called it Yellow Passage, and it wasn't easy.
It's been renamed.
Has been?
It's Caratani Yellow now.
But it was hard. All the stuff we're pushing in Nettlebed, we had several trips in Nettlebed, it just wasn't giving up at all. The Yellow Passage went 400 metres or so, relatively biggish, lots of broken down rock and lots of small passages, and then just all broken down, and we're stopping rock piles. And every trip we went back there, we just weren't finding anything. We just bash our hands against the wall, finding little tiny narrow passages, and getting completely severely beaten up again. That's pretty much how we're coming out, and we're completely stuffed, not really finding very much, and it was really hard to keep going. It's really hard to go back each time knowing you probably weren't going to find very much, and you commit a week to it and come away with about 30 metres of passage. It was quite hard to do that time after time. So this is the back of Nettlebed. The end of Nettlebed's up here. Software Cafe's over here, and the Yellow Passage came along, and then we started going away from the main Nettlebed part of the cave. And seeing that on the map was just like, wow, you know, I don't care if the cave doesn't think it's going to connect here, we are going to connect here. Stormy Pot was just over here somewhere. Oh my goodness, look at that, that's incredible. So, knowing that, right, we had that, and the connection to Stormy Pot was pretty, you know, there's a good chance it was going to connect. Summer 2012, everybody wanted to go to Stormy Pot. We had, instead of 5 of us in the cave, we had 15 in the cave. It's like, whoa, what's up, people? It's quite a full on. Yeah, so they got them to work pretty hard. Our chocolate room camp was full of people. Yeah, it was just a small group of people, it was half the group of people that were there. Yeah, so it was about a 10-day trip. And we didn't actually find very much. We found only a couple of cameras, I think. But what we did find was pretty good. Because we went to the spot closest to Nettlebed, and there's got to be a way through here somewhere, and found this passage. Let's get it to you. And then seeing that on the map, it's like, it's going to connect. It's going to connect. But then there's a big gap here. It's 100 metres, so it's still quite a big gap between the two caves. But somebody realised that maybe we're right about looking at this area down here. Well, just bizarre here, we thought, this is the best part of Nettlebed and the best part of Stormy Pot. We're going to make them connect here. So we went, after that expedition, we found that passage coming towards Stormy Pot, we called it Correlation Street. And Troy, Chris and I went back into Correlation Street and dug. It's an incredible dig. It comes down here. It slopes down to about 30 degrees. It's just a little tiny tube and it's just gravel. And just dug down for about 30 metres down this thing. And at one point you had to tie a rope onto Troy's feet and lower him down. He'd dig away and pull him out, was pulling the gravel out. So eventually he actually broke through the streamway. There's a streamway here. And we thought, yes, Nettlebed, here we come. And unfortunately that ended in a big choke. And that got really tight and ended in a big con. A really strong, yes, the draft was actually going up it. A lot of water going downstream. And then seeing that on the map, it's like, oh, you know, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Maybe not. Hopefully in my lifetime. We always think, hopefully, but we weren't too sure it's going to happen in our lifetime or not. So then along came a film crew decided to got wind of it. This guy gave me a call and he said, oh, I hear you trying to connect Stormy Pot and Nettlebed and you're trying to make a big deep cave in the South Island. I said, yeah, that's right. So, well, our clients are kind of tired of doing the rock climbing thing and the kayaking thing. Everyone's done that. We're into a caving story. And this discussion went on over a period of a long time, actually, a couple of months, several months. They wouldn't tell me who the client was. Eventually they said, oh, it's Red Bull. And I went, you're joking. Really? Do we really have to work for Red Bull? So they said, look, it's not about advertising Red Bull can, it's actually Red Bull wants to make some really good documentaries that they can sell to discovery and you know, put out there as good quality stuff, and it doesn't actually advertise Red Bull at all. I said, okay, right, sweet, come along. And so I said, well, you're going to sponsor the trip? And they went, we can't sponsor. I said, okay, well, scratched my head for a bit, and then I said, well, how about, you can't do this trip without us, how about you pay us to be camera assistants? He went, yep, we can do that. So we've got the team all got paid for camera assistants, which is really good actually. Very good because it takes that expedition, they pay for the $3 million. They wanted us to connect to Stormy Pot and Nettlebed. And so we had one group go in the bottom, into Nettlebed, and another group got beaten to death, just about. And huge floods, gale force, winds, snow, they managed to make it to Stormy Pot, and they went down to Stormy Pot. And the idea was that they'd put dye in the stream, and also they released a big Kieran bomb and light hollow kerosene, and we're hoping that would pick up the dye and also the kerosene in the Nettlebed. That was the theory. So in this passage here, they put dye into this passage, and then they also let off a kerosene bomb and then right at the very end of Correlation Street. Like I said, lots and lots of wind going at this big rock hole. And the result was that is we came to Nettlebed, we sat there in Nettlebed, and at almost exactly when we should, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the dye came out here. And that was really exciting. Like, yes, our theory's actually right, the water flows through. That's really cool. And the next day, we went for a wander up from Soft Rock Cafe, and I said to the guy, I said, look, just chill out today, don't go too hard. You know, we're just going to take a nice cruise day today. I'm wandering along going, God, Tim, there's another guy on the group, he said, Jesus, these socks stink. And after about half an hour, that's not socks. Guys, can anyone smell that funny smell? And they were going, yeah, you want to smell it? I thought it was you, Kieran. That was a kerosene. And then our nice cruisy day ended up in a mad dash, an absolute mad dash, all the way down to this passage here at the end of the Yellow Passage. And there we could smell the kerosene coming through a rock hole. And that was amazing. That was really cool. We sat there yelling, hey guys, just in case the others were on the other side of the rock pile and they could hear us, but we didn't get any answer. So we left it at that. And so the Red Bull film didn't make the connection, but it gave us a really good indicator of where to look, and that was really important. That was the area of the cave we had to really focus on. But the caves are still quite a long way apart. Long way apart. So kind of go in there going, oh okay, let's go and have a look, but we're not going to make, nothing's going to happen this trip. So the actual, the dye came in down that point, all in there coming in here. So we went back into Nettlebed January this year, and there's Jonathan, Bruce, big group of us actually, Jonathan, Bruce, Gavin, Richard, Marcus and Neil.
Yeah.
And so 7 of us went into the cave. And we based ourselves up at Soft Rock, and the idea was to push everything at the end of the cave and try and push this inlet where the dye came out as well. Right, to see if either we could make the cave longer, that's one thing, and that'd be a real bonus, but if we could start moving towards making a connection towards Stormy Pot, that would be another thing as well. So this is actually in the streamway, right at the very upper end of Nettlebed, right at the very end. Unfortunately, it ends in a big choke, and we tried to find ways around it, we couldn't find any way around it. It's a real shame. Up at the up in the Yellow Passage is actually the nicest part of the Yellow Passage. In fact, it's real chossy up in this point. You think, wow, this is really cool. You get chossy there.
It's only 5 metres long, but pretty
yeah. It's the only bit where you kind of stand up and stretch a little bit and walk for 5 metres. But we started digging at the end of the Yellow Passage in this pile of rocks where the wind was starting coming out, knowing that we had over 100 metres to dig. We thought, oh, I might as well do our bit. Dig. So I dug in that, and then we had a brief interlude where Gavin went and found some more passage, but there was a completely different part of the cave, near the back end of the cave. And he worked his way down through one of the most unstable rock piles I've ever seen in my entire life.
That rock above Gavin there weighs about 70 tonnes. And he's held up by 2 other rocks in a very beautiful bridge formation.
It's not often where you think, I don't want to look. Maybe an engineer going, yeah, I reckon about 1 in 100. Then someone's going to get hurt 100 times. 100 once, 101st person's going to get taken out. Unfortunately, Gavin found the streamway. We all know the streamway that Gavin found down below that. And it's a really nice stream, very strong draft coming down it. It's like, oh, bugger. Good though, cave's going. It's like, wow, really cool. But that rock pile is really dangerous. So, 42 below we called it. It's below 42, chain 42. And that streamway we surveyed a couple hundred metres, I think, and ended in a rock choke. Gavin could get through it, he's tiny, the rest of us couldn't get a look in. And we left it at that, and so went back to the dig at the end of the Yellow Passage, thinking, oh, we might as well put a bit more effort into this, and hauling rocks out of this rift. I got through a couple of squeezes into a little shaft, went up the shaft, got this little tiny crack, and started bashing away at it with a hammer, thinking, yep, Stormy Pot's miles and miles away. Then ended up getting through this little crack, and the first thing I saw was a scar made by a rock on the side of the wall. And I saw that and went, I didn't do that. I wonder how that happened. And I got up and looked around and climbed up on top of a big rock and found a piece of paper. It said lentil wipe. That's new. So I looked around and went, shit, I know where I am. I recognised a rock up the wall a bit where I tied a rope to it probably a year and a half before. And yeah, we got through this little narrow crack here, and we made a connection to Stormy Pot. And that was pretty exciting. Yeah, it was really exciting. And it's really cool to have some of the Nettlebed explorers, older Nettlebed explorers in the team. I was a little bit disappointed that the original Stormy Pot crew wasn't there. It's like, yes, we made it. Oh, the other guys aren't here. But it was really neat to share that with some of the early Nettlebed explorers. Really, really exciting. And for them, it was a real buzz too to be on a connection like that. It was pretty special. So you think, wow, done it. And the next thought was, oh, what next? It really was. Like, oh, fuck. We've done this. What do we do now?
Well, Bruce knew.
Yeah, Bruce wanted to go. He was like, I have to get up this climb. I want to go to the top. Bruce, come back. No, thankfully there's no way up it. So Yeah, the connection point was right here. Yeah, actually, the night before I was looking at these maps going, now if these moved a little bit closer,
They
they
might.
might connect
Yeah.
in the urinal for the Rovers return camp. So we're already camping here. The guys that were pushing down here, they camped in here. And where we came up was where we were urinating down a little hole, and that's where we came up. But the funny thing was, Neil said afterwards when we got out, he said, you know, I was lying in camp one day and I heard something. And I thought it was the others. And he was the same days that we were underneath him calling him. It was only about 10 to 15 metres gap between the two. So if he'd called back, we would have made the connection on the big hill trip. It was quite okay, so pretty close. And then once Jonathan done put the entrances in the right place and allowed for all the magnetic deviations and things, the actual server area was phenomenal. It was really, what was it? 20
So
metres?
that's, it was 50 metres out in the end, and over 8.8 kilometres of survey traverse. So if you go from the connection the long way around over the surface, just the cave part is 8.8 kilometres. So 50 metres works out about 0.5% error. It just goes to show that you can think you might, you know, we thought we were miles away, eh?
Yeah.
We thought we had a long dig to go.
How many legs did you survey the 8.8 kilometers?
Oh,
3,000-4,000?
No, about 940, I think.
900?
Yeah.
the dig itself was, one dig was about 2 metres long, another one was a metre long,
Oh yeah.
the other one was 6 inches.
On the connection day, it was an extra 5 survey legs.
Yeah. And suddenly, the cave went to slightly under 1,200 metres deep. So now we've got this incredible through trip. I'm just going to run you through the through trip because I think it's incredible. I've done it 3 times now, and I'll do it again. I'll do it another 3 times easy. It's definitely for me anyway, it's one of the best cave trips I've done in my life. You start up in these mountains. You start up here. And the first time we did it, we flew in, and that's it, barely flying. Suddenly the helicopter flies away. It's like, my goodness, can't even see the car. It's, you know, 2 basins and 2 ridges away, and well over 1,200 metres below us to actually get back down to the car. It's miles away. And we have to go in this hole in the ground. And normally when we get down that hole in the ground, you just like, oh, I've got to come back out of it. That's really hard work. Now it's like, cool, it's all downhill.
Now that you know the way, how long does it take you to go through?
The first trip we did in 2 days, because we flew in and flew out. Yeah, but normally the next trip took us 3 days, and we walked the whole thing. We walked up the piers.
No, we drove up the.
No, we
to
just
the
drove
car
up the floor, walked up the mountain, did the cave, and walked back up the floor for a car. That took us 3 days. Yeah, next trip we did in 5 days because we wanted to go exploring as well. Anyway, it's just down. You just get on these ropes and you abseil. It's really cool, and you just keep abseiling. Some of the pitches are really big. You know, this is 60 odd metres. This one, most of them are like 20, 30 metres deep. And you just go down and down and down. The entrance series is just really good fun. You just even Lindsay Main said it was really cool. He had a big smile on his face when he got down there. That's quite. That was saying something. It was amazing. Yeah, there's some little bits. Yeah, sure, there's little bits. They're not hard, nasty little bits that you normally get on Mount Arthur.
But look how clean we are.
Yeah, that's 20 minutes, half an hour from the entrance. It's still clean. That's quite unheard of. Oops. Yep, down, down, down. And it's relatively dry. And then you end up in the streamway. And the streamway is really good fun. When you have a light pack, you're not carrying 3. You're going one with a light pack on. And when we first did the through trip, we were wandering through going, what was our problem? And then you end up going to Summer's End, you got the nice little flying fox at Summer's End, which is good fun, and you end up on this really nice dry passage, and what's called you can call me Dr. Delicious. That was actually named after Troy's girlfriend that he met when he was exploring the cave, which was actually quite good of him. And she's a doctor. And eventually you end up in the river, and the first trip, I've done 2 trips now without wearing wetsuit. Yeah, it's okay, but you don't want to stop very long, it's so cold, it's really painful. But it's worth doing that in wetsuits, no problem. But we wore wetsuits on the trip with Jonathan. There's 3 swims you got to go through, and generally it's about kind of ankle to thigh deep as you're wandering down the stream. Beautiful streamway. And you're just wandering underneath Horseshoe Basin here, and finding the streamway goes out of the Nominate Basin, goes right underneath the Horseshoe Basin, underneath the Mount Arthur Ridge.
So you got that rope through there? You just
Yeah. You have to lean back on it,
Yeah.
get your feet up high so you can keep your top half out of the water. Yeah. Yeah, it's just stomping down the street. So this is out underneath Horseshoe Basin. Horseshoe Basin's
Fantastic.
400 metres above us here.
It's easier walking down there than it is trying to cross the road here.
Yeah. Very special. Then you walk out in this big chamber, you wander up these big boulders up into this massive big chamber. You know, it's a good place to get warm. And then down to Coronation Street and then into the old Rovers Return Camps, a very nice place to stop for a cup of tea before you head into the connection squares. Neil said he got stuck there for 20 minutes. Yeah, you get stuck. You got this stuck about 30 seconds. I'm stuck. You know, I'm stuck. Neil, come on. Yeah, and then eventually through the Yellow Passage into the nice big tubes in Nettlebed. It's very nice getting into Nettlebed because the Yellow Passage is a bit chossy. But you get to the tubes in Nettlebed, it's like, just about home. Down these amazing tubes. And for those that haven't actually been to Nettlebed, the back of Nettlebed is an incredibly stunning place. There's lovely big tunnels to wander down through. And then, if you want, you can stop at Soft Rock Cafe. If you've never been to Soft Rock Cafe before, I recommend stopping there because it's got a bit of history. And it's a really nice village, even though it's amongst the rocks. It's like a lovely village. It's not actually, it's pretty windy, but it's not too bad. Not too bad. I've spent many, many days based out of Soft Rock Cafe, and I'll definitely go back there many more times. Then downhill, down the massive Hammer Heights, and up through the Hammer Hole, squeezing down through the Hammer Hole. You've got a bit of streamway, that's the southwest continuum it's called, a bit of streamway for a short section. And then all the down stops, you go up for a little bit. You go up the outline pitch, and the outline pitch takes you into a really nice bit of cave through Diamond Alley. It's massive, amazing crystals. And Diamond Alley pops out into the huge Knee Trembler passage. I remember coming to Knee Trembler first with Van Watson many years ago. We did the through trip, the old through trip down through whole through trip, I love that one. The original through trip.
Well, it was 28 years ago. It is an old through trip. 28 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, 28 years ago, lost this weekend.
That's incredible. Yeah. Anyway, we went down through, we came down through Buzzard with Van Watson and got into a Knee Trembler, and we got to a point, didn't really know the way on was. We turned to Van and said, Van, where do we go? He goes, I don't know where to go. I said, what do you mean, you found this place? Really? Yeah, Knee Trembler. Knee Trembler, pretty impressive. And then some more up. Yes, this is just before we get into Salvation Hall. And then into Salvation Hall. And you stop there again for a night. Salvation Hall is not quite as nice as Soft Rock Cafe. I think Soft Rock's a lot better sleeping bags there. And then it's actually not very far to get out from there. It's only 2 or 3 hours to get out from the entrance. So up more pictures. More lovely big trees, more rock piles, things to wander through if you've been there. Get down to the bottom part of the cave, it's really wet, miserable. And you've got the ducks and the squeezes. And when we did the first through trip, the wind was so flipping strong. You get into this is the first squeeze on the way out, and you just feel like the wind is pushing you out. I've never felt the wind so strong before in there. It was incredible. And then there you are, 1,160 metres below the entrance, you pop out into the bush. And that's quite, it's one of the most rewarding trips I've ever done. And that first through trip was pretty special. And all the other two have been amazing as well. And I certainly recommend it. And if anybody wants to go, I'd go through it again in a shop. Recommend flying up from the entrance, flying up from the Pierce Road end to the top, then doing the through trip and walking down the Pierce. It's easy.
If you stop at that house at the end and then have your coffee and dinner.
That would be very nice. It's still there. So now we've got the Stormy Pot trip in here, all the way down through here. It's a nice big river here. A big chamber, Black Wharf, Coronation Street, Yellow Passage, and all the way down through the bottom there. So we've done the through trip. So well, what's next? And the amount out, we're going just starting to scratch the surfaces now. I'm just starting to realise what sort of potential there. And there's certainly a lot of other big projects. I've been back into Nettlebed, and that passage that Gavin found just sits up in there. This cave ends in a big choke just here, and this stream here might actually bypass that choke. Might go into a big area of mountain sitting right here. Yeah, there's Windruff Cave that happens downstream Windruff. We're hoping to go back to the sump at the bottom of Windruff to dive that sump and see where that goes. So that cave's going to keep growing. So these are the guys which I spent nearly 3 years working very hard in Stormy Pot. Stormy Pot with Troy, Chris, Aaron, myself, and Neil, and you get to know guys pretty well. When you're working hard lights together. And it's certainly one of the most amazing groups of people I've been cave with in my life. I'm very lucky to have had the opportunity to cave with those guys. And on that, taking Julie our first through trip. It was a very special couple of days. Actually. It's really cool. And Chris is just recovering from a smashed femur. I couldn't believe he made it. It's the hardest day of his entire life, and he's so lucky. He's a TV news crew met us at the bottom, and I said to them beforehand, I said, "We'll give you a story if you fly us out." And he went, "Oh, I've got to talk to the boss." And I knew if a squirrel flew in over here, we'd be flying out. And we got to the entrance and a squirrel flew in. It's like, oh, thank goodness, we're going to fly us out, because Chris was going to walk out his stuff. So, when you look at the mountain, that project's, done that project. There's another big one here. That water ends up going over here. Right? What happens? Got all this karst country in here. No big caves been found here yet, and there's definitely going to be a cave found here one day.
But all the caves that are there, all draft.
Yeah. There's a whole heap of caves in this ridge here. Really strong winds coming out of them. Massively strong winds. Right? Who knows? You just need to take a bit of work, get in there with a hammer and chisel, and you actually work hard to get through some of these small places, because you get down a couple of metres, maybe 200-300 metres, I guarantee you'll get in some big places below that. Actually guarantee it. Yeah, so it's still a massive amount of caves we found on that mountain. Yeah. It's a very exciting time to be caving in New Zealand.
It's always an exciting time to be caving.
It kind of goes under, it's been going kind of ups and downs, the 80s are pretty exciting, part of the 90s is pretty exciting. I think in 2000s things started dropping off a bit. But now, it's definitely picking up with, you guys found a new area, Nelson's found a new area, a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff in found even the West Coast and up in Mount Arthur and Mount Owen, it's getting incredibly exciting. The stuff on Mount Owen, the dye trace on Mount Owen, that proves that almost across the drainage divide, that cave's going to be enormous one day. And that's really, really exciting. And I just hope that it just takes more people. More people in there.
And encourage the young ones.
We need more people, we need more young people coming.
Smaller people.
Pay attention.
Instead of 5 people on the expedition, we should have 20 people on the expedition. So, when we made the connection, I feel a bit down. It's like, I've just done the best through trip in New Zealand. What next? This wood. Watch this. Look at this wheel keeping. Hope you can hear it. Can you hear it? No. You see that? Yeah. Blow up.
Blow up.
All the moss is flying out. Just flying out. Right? And this entrance was 50 metres below the summit of Mount Arthur. And there was a day when all the holes you came across were drafting out. And up high, they were all drafting out. And this one was just howling a gale out. It's like, shit. Next project, 50 metres below the summit. That means to connect. If it connected to Stormy Pot, for example, the cave had to go down to depth. It would be the fourth or fifth deepest cave in New Zealand just to connect. It's got nearly 650 metres to go to actually connect the Stormy Pot Streamway. There's maybe, who knows, but we need to go back. Chisel out the entrance, it's quite small entrance, chisel it out a little bit and see if we can
So what's the elevation of that?
17, it's 50 metres below the summit, so
1745,
50,
yeah.
Yeah, 745, 750.
So that'd be 1450 deep.
Yeah. It's worth it.
How many kilometres of passages there now in the whole
just
journey?
Just under 40, and it's 1195 metres deep. So
We thought it was the second deepest in the world, but unfortunately when we wrote it up in descent, they did a bit of homework and discovered that we were actually 5th or 6th deepest.
yeah, I thought we were going to get
Through trip. Yeah.
thought we were going to get the deepest through trip in the Southern Hemisphere with the French bigness. But they're only just though, only about 10 metres. I will get the French.
Hear that, Claire? Take the message back.
Let's call it Rainbow Warrior.
Yeah, so it's, we've also got a, I don't know if we connect the website, we can actually show you this, the Red Bullthorn, but I don't think we can connect into it.
You try.
Well, it's also now long term, isn't it?
Yes, now, yeah, it's quite long.
Can you do it through somebody's phone?
Well, I can give you the code. I can tell you how to get onto it. It's easy. I can send you the link, actually.
In